Hello friends, welcome to Law Excellence Mains Answer Writing Session 8. Just like every other session, before I proceed with the question, I would like to reiterate 5 basic principles of mains answer writing. Just to revise you, I'll be listing them down, and please make sure that your answer is confined on those bullet points. First of all, please make sure that you dissect the question properly, where the keywords or the directive words of the questions are properly analyzed. Then comes localization, where you have to see that you don't deviate from what is being asked in the question. Third down the list is scenario building, which forms the main core answer of your question, followed by evaluation technique, where you present case studies or you have numerous examples which you cite. And finally, the conclusion, where you have to conclude optimistically, or if you criticize a question, your criticism should be constructive enough. Now, with these basic guidelines, we will be proceeding forward with this session's question. For today's question, which is from the Science and Technology section, which is like this. Recently, you would have heard that GSLV Mk3 was lifted off with GSAT-29, the heaviest satellite launched from Indian soil successfully. In this scenario, what would be the role of GSLV Mk3 in the Chandrayaan-2 mission? What are the differences between GSLV and PSLV? That you have to answer in 250 words. As you can see, this question has two parts. First part, where you have to correlate the impact or the effect of GSLV Mk3 on Chandrayaan-2 mission. And in the second part, you have to bring out the differences between the two major categories of satellites, GSLV and PSLV. Whichever zone we select in blue. Before I proceed forward with the question, initially I would like to brief you about India's space program. Though this is not directly relevant to the question, but it forms a nice background for you to know. By India's space program, we have different categories of satellites, with two major categories, with one being in remote sensing satellites and another being communication satellites. Apart from these, there are several other categories of satellites too, which includes navigation satellites, reconnaissance satellites, weather satellites, and few student satellites. So India's space program has expanded into multiple categories, and now we have a wide gamut of satellites. This space technology's revolution has impacted us in a lot of ways. The recent advances by ISROs have enabled us to peep deeper into Earth by measuring its land, agriculture, soil. We are also able to monitor the water, ocean's condition, the climatic pattern, and the changing climate and clouds can be constantly monitored by satellites. Satellites have also helped us in monitoring floods or predicting floods, in monitoring the movement of soils in landslide prone areas, and in earthquake monitoring also. Satellite technology has been a boon for us. You would have heard recently that so many cyclones and typhoons have hit various coasts of the world, but we have mitigated the risk because of the preparedness and the advanced cyclone prediction that was done with the help of these space satellites. Coming down, one of the important use of satellites is for communication, where your television, your internet speed, its bandwidth is all being controlled and determined by the satellites out there. Teleeducation, telemedicine, these all things which can be prominent in expanding our reach to remote villages, can actually be enabled only with the help of these satellites. So these two slides I just said to mention the broad impact that space technology have had on our economy. Now coming to the question, as you can see in the question has asked for the impact of MK3. The question has asked for the impact of MK3 on Chandrayaan mission. So while introducing, please make sure that we give a brief background to the question. In this, I have just presented you with a sample introduction. You can read it and you can find out that I have briefly mentioned the uses or the ways in which space technology has impacted us. And thereafter, I moved forward and connected that thing with ISRO GSLV MK3. So while there can be various forms of introduction, please make sure that the introduction is has a background that connects it to a macro view of the question. Next, moving forward to the body of the question, as the question has asked for you the GSLV MK3 the role of GSLV MK3 in Chandrayaan 2, your answer should include that till now India's space program was dependent on foreign agencies for heavier payloads. GSLV MK3 has enabled us for the first time to lift our own 4-ton heavy payloads to geostationary transitory orbits. Earlier, for lifting such high payloads, we had to pay heavy amounts to foreign agencies. But for this time, we have been able to do this completely with our own indigenous technologies. So it has also reduced our dependency on foreign agencies as well as caused the cut by several margins. In GSLV MK3, we have ISRO had incorporated new design features, softwares and simulations, and it was a major achievement for them when these all things proved successful. Apart from that, they also had an unmanned crew experiment which gave them an insight into the atmospheric landing. As you know that Chandrayaan 2 aims to send human mission to moon. We have to be prepared with all sorts of atmospheric landing conditions. So this GSLV MK3 provided us with all the software simulations which could be pre-tested, unmanned crew experiment which could be pre-tested, and at the same time allowed us and gave us a platform where we could rely on for our future heavier payloads. So this part would form the major content of the first part of your question. Moving forward, now comes the second part where you are going to answer about the PSLV versus GSLV. Though this is a very standard question, please make sure that you are brief and to the point. Just to mention few of them. While PSLVs are remote sensing satellites, GSLVs are major communication satellites. Okay, and since PSLVs are not geostationary, it means that they do not appear constant when viewed from a particular place on Earth. But that's not the case with GSLVs. They appear to be fixed at a particular place when viewed from Earth. So yes, GSLVs have also reduced the impact of the antennas and other things that we earlier had with various technologies. Till now, we were using PSLV, and PSLV could only lift weights up to approximately 2 tons. But with GSLV and MK1, MK2, and with currently MK3, we are able to lift heavy loads up to 4 tons. So that is a very big arsenal in our in ISRO's ability. So and finally, while PSLV is propelled in polar synchronous orbit, GSLVs, it takes a satellites to geosynchronous orbit of the Earth. So these are the major differences of PSLVs and GSLVs, which would form the second part of your question. And finally, coming to the conclusion. Please remember that conclusion has to be broad, dynamic, and optimistic. With this question, to make it broad, you can mention that a higher space with that GSLV has enabled us to move forward towards a higher bandwidth zone where it would be possible for our space technologies to penetrate remote areas. It has provided us that impetus. Additionally, it has also provided us a strategic advantage where the dependency on other countries and or foreign agencies and other things have minimized, and we are a global power in terms of space in Southeast Asian countries. And finally, it has also enabled us to propel or try for some deep space missions in future. So this conclusion is optimistic, at the same time broader in view. So please make sure that all your conclusions be on the same line. So friends, that's for today. That's for today's mains answer. And please make sure that every time you write the answers, you follow the 5 basic principles that I have mentioned at the start of the session. Thank you for today, and see you in the next session. Bye bye.